Now for our roundtable with the one and only News Channel 5 political analyst, Brian Crowley. Welcome back. You look rested, sir, and glad to have you back from your break.
I feel very rested. It's been 3 weeks in Scotland with my wife, Cheryl, and all I want to say is I'm glad she didn't run into Sam Ewan while we were gone, or I might have wound up home alone. But
the Outlander,
the Outlander actor, yes.
Good to have you back aboard. This coming week, we'll see the jury take the case on the hush money trial for Donald Trump. It seems that at this juncture, there's no way that we're going to see other trials, or certainly speaking of the classified documents case. There's been some scathing critiques about whether the judge has slow-walked that or not in Fort Pierce on the classified documents case. Where are we as we round into summer? The election really not that far away. Your thoughts? Put it all together for us.
You know, I read something recently where somebody suggested that Joe Biden should have pardoned Donald Trump, and that he should have aggressively tried to convince the Manhattan courts and the Georgia courts to drop their cases. And I can see that, because one of the things that Donald Trump has been able to use politically are these cases. And it's given him a whole platform that he can talk about and make himself the person who's being attacked and punished. It would be interesting to know what kind of campaign he would have had these cases not existed, because it would have been the same old stuff that we'd heard from Donald Trump since 2016. So the cases have given him a whole new platform that has energized his supporters. So, you know, maybe historically we'll look back on this and think that Joe Biden made a mistake by not pardoning Donald Trump, as Gerald Ford did with Richard Nixon.
And the debates upcoming. See how much has happened since you left. They've agreed to debates, including one June 27th. Thoughts?
Well,
normally we say they don't necessarily move the dial. I don't know if that's the case this year.
Well, it's very interesting that they're going to debate in June as opposed to later on in the cycle. I think
then they'll do one post-Labor Day.
Yeah, I think it could be a very...
Or is it post-Labor Day or just before? But they're doing the June one's a biggie.
Yeah, and I think the fact that they're doing it in June, assuming it happens, I mean, these days, you never know, but I think it could be a real turning point for the campaign. I think that the fact that there's not going to be any audience, that they're going to be, you know, just answering questions from the interviewers, I think is going to be a really good way to handle the debate, and we'll see what happens. But if it goes through, I think it could be a real turning point for the campaign, because if either one of them does a really, really bad job, that could be it.
And of course, we're talking a lot about amendments 3 and 4, recreational marijuana, and the amendment that would essentially restore a woman's right to have an abortion up to viability, roughly 24 weeks. You and I have talked about it a lot, but how much do you see those as we start moving into summer? People are going to be on vacation, they're doing different things, but people's attention will begin to coalesce as we get into mid and late summer. How do you see those issues as drivers in Florida?
You know, I still think that the abortion issue in Florida has not been as impactful on voters' thinking as Democrats have hoped it would be. This could improve as we get closer and closer to the election. But, you know, the average voter is not confronting an abortion issue right now. They're confronting gas prices and homeowners insurance and that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure for a lot of voters it's their number one issue. And of course, with the amendment, you need 60%, which is one of the highest thresholds in the country. So I think it's going to be tight for them to get to 60%. We'll see. I think marijuana may also turn out to be a tight play for the proponents of the marijuana amendment, again, because of the 60% threshold.
So it could mean bigger turnout, but where that turnout goes at top of the ballot or down ballot races, you've talked about this. I think there's an easy assumption that, well, abortion, let's say that really spurs turnout. That automatically means it's better for Democrats. But people are fully capable, voters, of saying, I feel this way about this issue, but I feel this way about the top of the ticket.
Absolutely.
You've talked very thoughtfully about that.
Yeah, I mean, you can be pro-choice and want to pass the amendment and still not support Joe Biden. or you could be oppose the amendment and still not support Donald Trump. And if you need a new pair of glasses,
yeah, as I throw my glasses off the set. I'm so happy to have you back. Let's turn Rick Scott, running for re-election. Debbie Merkersall-Powell on the Democratic side. He not only running to retain his U.S. Senate seat, but also wants to be top dog among Republicans in the Senate, running for the leadership post.
Oh, you know, Rick, if he sees a door that's open, he tries to go through it. He was one of the first people to join the Tea Party. He was the first U.S. Senator to show up at Trump's New York trial to support Donald Trump, and then made the most bizarre claim that what happened to Donald Trump is exactly what happened to him when they went after him. Well, it's nowhere near the same. And, you know, so he wants to be majority leader for the Senate, for the Republicans, and Mitch McConnell doesn't really like Rick Scott. Mitch McConnell is stepping down at the end of this term, but he's not leaving the Senate, so
it could be a big roadblock.
It could be a big roadblock. There are a couple of other better-known folks who are running for that position, so we'll see, but I think it's a long shot for Rick Scott.
Early thoughts on the Senate race in Florida?
You know, Rick Scott tends to win by 1 percentage point or less. He'll throw whatever money he can of his own, as well as what he raises into the race. I give him credit for working very, very hard with Hispanic voters. Ever since he was governor, he went out of his way to learn how to speak Spanish. He visits Puerto Rico frequently, which was, you know, a hardcore Democratic area for the Puerto Ricans who live in Central Florida area predominantly. He spends a lot of time with the Hispanic communities in South Florida. I think he's a very aggressive candidate who he may be difficult to defeat this time.
Thoughts? You've had some time away here. What's top of mind? Kind of help our viewers navigate through the dog days of summer, and what the things are you want to kind of have them focus on as we start moving through the summer, through the debates, the big issues. Then we'll start moving into fall, and it'll be here before we know it.
Well, you know, the one issue that I've heard for the last, you know, number of months and hear constantly day in, day out is that, you know, we need to be going after Starbucks, because Starbucks tries to have diversity. So golly shucks, you know, our Attorney General and our governor have decided that they're going to sue Starbucks for having diversity plans within the organization, and it may be even sillier than what they tried to do with Disney World, because Disney World is now, Ron DeSantis is now in love with Disney World again. They're probably taking the wife and kids there pretty soon, and the impact on Disney World from what Ron DeSantis did was, well, nothing, and it didn't help his presidential campaign. So now he and Ashley Moody have decided to go after Starbucks. I guess they're Dunkin' Donuts fans.
Final thought in this segment, then we'll get your close on the other side of the break, Brian. Any final thoughts?
Well, I think that we need to get back to, instead of worrying about things like Starbucks, you know, we need to be talking about the fact that there are a lot of people in Cape Coral who still have blue tarps on their roofs. There are a lot of people in Northwest Florida that still have blue tarps on their roofs.
A lot of people can't afford insurance anywhere.
You know, WPTV has done a remarkable job with covering the homeowners insurance crisis.
He has.
And it continues to be a crisis for a lot of people. We need to get away from some of the silly stuff and concentrate on the issues that are really, really important to the day-to-day lives of Floridians.
We'll see you on the other side of the break. Welcome back, my friend. Good to have you back. Back in a moment.